Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. And yes, it's not really exactly tomorrow, but here we are. Also because I wanted to do this video. And since we're talking about an interesting subject, I'm going to quench my thirst real quick. It is normal sweet tea with a little raspberry. Alright guys, obviously coming from the title of this video is titled, What is Transgender? And I probably should have made this video like a while back, but you know, better late than never, right? Okay, also, but before I get into all that, I did finish my hair. As you can see, I toned it, and it looks amazing. Like, even my roots, they're more of a lighter brown than they were a darker brown. So it even lifted my roots a bit. Now, I also straightened my hair too. It didn't look like this before. I straightened it because I wanted it to look good. Alright, we're just gonna jump right in. Oh, excuse me. Right. What is transgender? A lot of people confuse gender identity with sexual orientation. Most people think they're kind of like together, the same. No. Sexual orientation is who you are sexually attracted to, men, women, both, whatever. Gender identity is who you are, male, female, or other. Whatever you feel, whatever you are. Because I feel, and there was this one transgender model that said this: inside, you know who you are, and that is true. And oh my gosh, I have to stop because my eye is itching so much. Sorry about that. Inside, you know who you are. Like for me personally, I knew that I did not know when I was 5 years old, like a lot of other trans girls did. For me, I didn't really know until I was about 13. But I didn't really want it to be that, because, you know, when I was 13, that was a long time ago. Well, to me, it's me. But that was a long time ago. That was back in 2004. Transgender was, even back then, wasn't something that was really popular. It wasn't really talked about. I didn't really know what transgender was. I knew that there were people that became another gender, but you know, I was raised in a Christian home, and for the longest time I grew up, when I didn't understand that, I was believed, because that's because what I grew up believing, that God made you a certain way, and that it's wrong of you to try to change what God made you as. So, you know, in my instance, God made me as a male, and for me to say that, you know, I should be a woman That would be like you not liking what God created. But for me, personally, that really changed a lot for me. Because, and not, I mean, not just over the years and all the feeling of dysphoria that I have felt trying to live as a man, I never fit in. I mean, I have long hair. I've had long hair since I was 15, 16. I hated having short hair. I hated having short hair. I felt like I couldn't do anything with it. I couldn't style it. I just hated it. I love having long hair. I always have. And for me, that's the most natural thing in the world. Like, when I realized I liked men and I wasn't attracted to women whatsoever, for me, growing up, I felt like that was the most natural thing in the world. For me, it wasn't wrong or perverted or sinful like the rest of the world thinks it is, or at least back then. And of course, yeah, the world doesn't really see it that way. They think of it, you know, you were born male, and if you like guys, you're gay. And for, you know, because it's a different experience living as a gay male as opposed to living your true identity, your true self. And honestly, I wish I would have figured out who I was much earlier. Because I feel like if I would have started my transition when I was 13 as opposed to 25, I think I would be on a very different path. But because I had just started puberty, it would have been easier in that way. I would have been able to block it. I really wouldn't have much facial hair. My voice wouldn't have been that deep. A lot of the bones that changed when I would hit puberty wouldn't have become as pronounced. But it didn't happen that way. Mostly because I just couldn't accept myself. I didn't want to be trans. It was hard enough being gay, especially growing up in a Christian household. I knew what my dad thought about gay people, what my grandparents thought. I mean, and I spent 11 years thinking of ways to tell him in various ways and not being able to. It wasn't until about 3 years ago when I broke down, and I basically looked myself in the mirror and just said, I can't do it anymore. It was unbelievably exhausting trying to live that life. Trying to be something that I know I never could be. And I spent the last 3 years processing to myself that I am transgender. And it took me a couple years before I could really branch out from it. To really to really begin things. And so I came out to my friends, my family. My dad in particular was most difficult. Hard to believe now, but that was like 6 months ago. After I told him, it felt like a giant weight had just been lifted from my shoulders. I just felt euphoric. It was amazing. I couldn't believe it. Getting a little off topic, but my personal thoughts on how things were for me. The term transgender it really is a umbrella term. There are female to male, people who are born female but identify as male. And then there are people like me who are born male and identify as female and transition into females. For me, I mean, you guys, everyone, you guys, at least people who are watching, but in case you're new to my channel and this is the first video you are watching, my name is Katarina. My name is legally Katarina. I just got my name changed 2 days ago, and I came out as transgender about 7 months ago, and I have just finished my first month on hormone replacement therapy, or HRT, or just hormones for short. Next month I will be starting on laser hair removal once I get insurance. So for really in a lot of ways, I'm still just beginning my journey. But in a lot of ways, I'm moving along quite nicely. It's not as simple as it is for other transgender youth, even transgender adults. I mean, the world isn't exactly a friendly place for people who are transgender. I mean, and it breaks my heart that people can be so cold and heartless to people in the trans community. I mean, it's so sickening that people still have that mentality where if something is different, it should be cast away or hidden, or people just not wanting to talk about it or think about it. I mean, look at the gay movement. Look how far it has come in just the last 50 years. In a lot of ways, and this has been said multiple times, but the trans community is probably a good 20 years behind. Now, I'm 26 years old. I would love to see full acceptance of transgender people in my lifetime. Will it happen? I don't know. Even Caitlyn Jenner doesn't think that it will happen in her lifetime. But considering that she's in her late 60s, you never know. However, she transitioned when she was 65. I started my transition when I was 25. So, I started my transition about 40 years before she started hers. But age-wise, anyway. But unlike her, I'm not famous. I don't have the luxury of already having the money for all my surgeries. All of my surgeries could end up being almost $100 grand. The two most expensive surgeries are FFS, which is about 30 grand, and bottom surgery, which is about 25 grand. The cheapest surgery is actually my breasts, which could only end up being between 10 and 12 grand. It's expensive. Like with being gay, being trans is not a choice. Being trans is not a mental illness. We are born this way for whatever reason. Maybe this is just our path, our way through life. Maybe we're not meant to understand it. To me, I feel like maybe it serves a greater purpose. Maybe we're meant to use this life to better ourselves and even better others. Because of all the struggles and the heartache and the pain that comes with being trans, people in the trans community are a lot more empathetic than others are. Because we experience everything. And we feel things far greater than a normal person does. And I feel like we can share that empathy with everyone we hold dear, everyone we love, everyone we know. And I feel like maybe by doing that, we can help better the world by being who we are. There's a lot of people out there that hate on trans people. But for me, I try the best I can to ignore them. Because there's gonna be people that are not gonna like you for who you are or what you do. But you can't let that stop you. You have to move forward on your own. Because for the longest time, when I lived as a gay male, the term fag or faggot was such a deeply offensive term for me. It hurt to hear, it hurt to even say, and even the people around me would say it, and it just made me cringe every single time, because for so long it's been used as a hateful word toward homosexual men and women. Now in the trans community, they still use that word, but they also use tranny, she-male. I'm sure there are others. I'm just not aware of them. But for me, the best way for me to not take offense to someone calling me things like that is to embrace them. Is to embrace the word tranny. Because that's our word. It's not theirs. Because at the end of the day, we will always be part male and we will always be female. We will always be biologically either female or male. There's nothing we can do to change that. You can't change what you were born as. Not by yourself. Medically, of course, with surgeries and stuff like that, but that's not really what I meant. My hope for the future, one of the things I'm honestly looking forward to most is uterus transplants. I one day hope that I can carry my own child. Maybe someday, far in the future, they'll be able to figure out a way to permanently bond a uterus to our bodies, or being able to create a child, like for those who don't have testicles anymore, or didn't freeze their sperm, for them to be able to have children using just their DNA, their blood, their skin, whatever. I mean, maybe there's a day that they'll be able to fully make it possible for trans women to actually have a functioning period. Excuse me. With ovaries and eggs and everything. I mean, I believe it's possible, but I also believe it's not something that I will probably ever see in my lifetime. It's something I'm hopeful, and it does make me sad that me and my husband won't be able to have a genetic child together, where it's half mine and half his. That just won't be able to happen. With the transplant, I'll still be able to carry his child, but genetically it won't be mine. Just like I would be able to carry my own child, but genetically it won't be his. But it would still be his, and it would still be mine. For the longest time, I always felt like I would never adopt. I wanted to have my own genetic children. I'm more open to adoption now than I ever was, especially since I only have a few months left to freeze my sperm. Otherwise I'll become sterile and I won't be able to have children of my own, that is. And that's kind of heartbreaking to me. But that's one of the side effects of spiralactone. It decreases sex drive, and it can make you sterile within 6 months. However, that's not always the case. Like, for example, Caitlyn Jenner, back in the 80s, she started to transition, and she was on hormones for 5 years. But she was still able to father 2 children after that. After that. So it wouldn't be like all hope is lost. I mean, surely it is possible, but at the same time, it could also be incredibly rare. Freezing sperm isn't cheap either. From what I found out, it's a couple grand to freeze it for about 5 years. That is something I will be looking into by probably December. I haven't been fully on things, but I really wanted to make this video to, in some way, kind of really describe what being trans is. And like I said, I got kind of sidetracked, but like I said earlier, transgender is an umbrella term. It's not just, like I said earlier, it's people who are female to male, people who are male to female, people who are gender non-conforming, non-binary. I'm sure they're gender queer, gender fluid. There are others, I'm sure. But we're all the same. We may be different, but we're still us. In a lot of ways, I'm probably still inexperienced in the trans community because I really haven't been out very long. I've done a lot of research, but it's really I've only really done research when it terms of my transition, you know, HRT and the surgeries and everything like that, but not so much as the history of the trans community and everything that. But watching Caitlyn Jenner's reality show taught me a lot. There's a lot of pain out there, a lot of uncertainty, but also a lot of hope. A lot of people don't think so, but Caitlyn Jenner, she gave me hope. When I was uncertain about myself, her courage is what saved me. A lot of people don't like her because of the family that she is in, but she gave me the courage I needed to move forward, to live, and I will always be grateful for that. I look forward to the next chapter of my life, moving forward, because the last few days I have felt more happy than I have experienced in over 13 years. Every time I go and use the women's bathroom, every time someone calls me ma'am or calls me Katarina instead of my dead name, it fills me with so much joy and so much happiness. Every single time I take my hormones, it just makes me feel good. It makes me feel like I'm alive. Like I'm finally living and not just surviving. And that means so much. I never ever thought that I would ever feel like this. To be able to actually live my truth. To actually experience life like this. I never thought I'd ever be able to have this. And now that I've felt it, all I want to do is never go back. Never feel like I felt before. So I'm moving forward. There's a lot of trans people out there that are depressed. I'm not one of them. Because I've spent so many years hiding myself, not letting myself feel what I need to be feeling. For me, this feeling is so overwhelming that even the times where I do feel depressed, it's gone very quickly, because that is what hope does. Hope destroys your fear. Hope gives you courage, and it gives you strength. And it does so much. And it's given me so much. In about a week and a half, I get my new Social Security card. Once I get that, I can go down to the DMV and I can get my new ID that says my new name on it. And I can finally change my name at work. Unfortunately, I need my ID, my new ID, and my new social for that, but in about 2 weeks, I'll have that. I'm excited. I'm excited for this next chapter in my life. Next month, I start laser hair removal. Next month, I'll finally get insurance that will cover all of my surgeries and hormones and hopefully laser. So I can start saving money. And well, actually, I've already started saving, not very much. I only have 100 in savings right now, but I'm getting a bonus check next month, so that's what it's going in savings too, plus taxes. So I'm excited. I'm looking forward to this, to just moving forward and not letting anything stop me. Alright guys, thank you for watching my very long video. I will see you guys tomorrow. I know I promised you another video. I'm sorry this one's kind of more of a serious one, but it's also a much needed one too. Alright, I will see you guys. I'll see you guys later. Bye.